Thanks so much for joining us for CBN News Today. I'm Ephraim Graham. The FBI is investigating 3 American girls accused of trying to join ISIS. Authorities intercepted the teens in Germany, and today they're back with their families in America. Officials say it is just the latest example of ISIS using social media to recruit this younger generation. Our Caitlin Burke reports.
3 American teenagers, 2 sisters ages 15 and 17, and their 16-year-old friend. So young, authorities won't identify them, but they're originally from Somalia and Sudan. The evidence gathered so far makes it clear they were headed to Syria to pledge allegiance to ISIS.
It's very important that they come to this place here.
Propaganda videos like these allegedly lured the girls away from their family and friends in Denver, sending them instead on a mission to join terrorists in Syria.
We have houses, we have security.
ISIS is well known for their global media campaign, using the tools and techniques of the West, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, to attract a new generation of recruits.
Its public messaging and social media is as slick and as effective as any I've ever seen from a terrorist organization.
This is just the latest case of ISIS recruiting Western girls. Just last month, a 19-year-old Muslim convert named Shannon Conley pleaded guilty after making plans to join ISIS in Syria. She had planned to marry an ISIS terrorist after meeting him online. And officials say there have been other cases of high school-aged kids trying to get to Syria that haven't been made public, all a part of a new global trend of disaffected youth being radicalized. In the case of the 3 American teenagers, the FBI is still investigating whether the girls had overseas contacts and if radicals funded the trip. Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
The Islamic State has urged supporters to carry out attacks against Western countries. Now authorities say terrorist ideology moved a recent Muslim convert to ram his car into 2 soldiers in Canada, killing one. Mark Martin has this story.
The public safety minister called the attack, which happened in a city near Montreal, a terrible act of violence against our country, against our military, and against our values.
What took place yesterday is clearly linked to terrorist ideology, and that's why we are offering the support of the NCMP in the ongoing investigation.
Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper offered his condolences. Police say the suspect, 25-year-old Martin Couture Rouleau, sat in his car outside a Veterans Support Center for at least 2 hours before hitting the 2 Canadian soldiers with a car and leaving the scene.
I went inside here and I did a transaction, and you see the staff is traumatized from what they saw because they got the windows over here and I'm sure they could see everything what happened here. So it was a bad one.
Police chased Rouleau for a few miles before he lost control of the car, which rolled over several times. Investigators say the suspect waved a knife when he got out of the vehicle. Police then opened fire, killing Rouleau. Royal Canadian Mounted Police say authorities knew Rouleau, and he recently had his passport seized.
On his Facebook, he was radicalizing himself to the idea of traveling overseas. Not arrest someone for thinking, for having radical thoughts. It's not a crime in Canada.
RCMP Commissioner Bob Paulson said he was part of our investigative efforts to try and identify those people who might commit a criminal act traveling abroad for terrorist purposes. Paulson also said Rouleau was one of 90 suspected extremists in the country with the goal of joining fights overseas or who have returned to Canada. Mark Martin, CBN News.
The case resembles one in London last year when an al-Qaeda-inspired extremist and another man ran over a soldier with a car. Video of that incident shows the 2 terrorists hacked the off-duty soldier to death in broad daylight. North Korea has released American Christian Jeffrey Fowley. He flew out of the communist country on a U.S. government jet Tuesday and landed in Ohio this morning. The State Department credited Sweden with helping facilitate his release. The 56-year-old had been in custody for nearly 6 months, charged with leaving a Bible in a hotel. 2 other Americans, Kenneth Bay and Matthew Miller, are still imprisoned in the communist country.
While this is a positive decision by the DPRK, we remain focused on the continued detention of Kenneth Bay and Matthew Miller, and again call on the DPRK to immediately release them.
Bae is a Christian tour guide serving a 10-year sentence for what Pyongyang calls anti-government activity. He's only served about 2 years of his sentence and is said to be in poor health. The White House's new Ebola czar begins his first day on the job today. President Obama tapped former White House advisor Ron Klain for the job last Friday. Klain arrives as the federal government closes the gap in Ebola screenings at airports. Anyone coming to the U.S. from Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea must enter at one of 5 airports screening for the deadly disease. With moves like this unfolding, a leading Red Cross official says the Ebola epidemic can be contained within 4 to 6 months. The sex services website Backpage.com is asking the Washington State Supreme Court to throw out a lawsuit filed by 3 young girls who were sold as prostitutes on the website. Backpage alleges they didn't write the ad, so they're not liable. But the victim's attorney says the website is a willing participant in trafficking because it provides pimps with instructions on how to write ads and to sell escort services. The mother of one of the victims says traffickers captured her 15-year-old daughter and sold her for sex using Backpage.
And I remember just begging her to come home. Please come home. We can fix this.
They need to stop. What they're doing is not only illegal, but it's immoral.
The largest website in human trafficking in this nation.
A similar case was filed against Backpage last week in federal court in Boston. A previous case in Missouri was dismissed. Pastors across the nation are sending a message to the mayor of Houston. Actually, quite a few messages. Church leaders are voluntarily sending Bibles and sermons to the mayor, Anise Parker. This move comes after pastors' sermons and numerous forms of private communication were subpoenaed earlier this month because of a gay rights ordinance case. For more on the Houston sermon subpoenas, check out CBNnews.com. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid is one of the most powerful men in the country and one of the shrewdest politicians on Capitol Hill. Critics say he single-handedly brought the Senate to a standstill, and his radical agenda has hurt America, so says critics. Reid isn't up for re-election this year, but he's still playing a huge role in the midterms. As Paul Strand reports, he's become a big political issue in many races.
You'd think those in the nation's highest legislative body would want to be there so they could legislate. But little of that's been going on in the Senate these days.
Some here in Washington have talked about a do-nothing Congress, and that could certainly be said of the Senate. And the reason for that pretty much comes down to Harry Reid.
Washington political observers like John Hart say Senate Majority Leader Reid's near-total clampdown on votes and amendments is historic.
He's blocked senators from offering amendments more often than all other majority leaders combined in our history, ×2.
So why would the man who controls legislation want to stop the legislating? Hart says one reason is politics.
He has used and abused that power to protect his own vulnerable incumbents from casting tough votes.
That way, say Hart and others, those vulnerable Democrats can't be held accountable on the campaign trail for votes they never had to deal with. Hart says there's hardly a crucial national issue Reid hasn't had the Senate dodge.
Issues like the Keystone Pipeline, tax reform, the size and scope of government, Obamacare, on issue after issue, his primary goal has been to protect his own party members, governing to win the next election above all else.
The Institute for Liberty's Andrew Langer says sometimes not holding votes can be a good thing because it can stop more government spending, for instance. But he points out that Reid is not only blocking votes, often on very important issues, he's allowing votes on questionable measures, like a recent one that critics say would have restricted the free speech of political interest groups.
So, Republicans have passed bill after bill after bill that have simply languished because Harry Reid refuses to bring them to the floor while he brings idiotic bills like the bill to go after free speech of groups.
The mainstream media would have you believe the Republicans ruling the U.S. House are just as bad at stifling legislation sponsored by the opposition Democrats. But Hart says the numbers in the Senate prove otherwise.
Since July of 2013, there have been 14 votes on Republican amendments and hundreds filed. And in the House, you have a Republican speaker who's allowed almost 200 votes on Democrat amendments.
Langer points out the Senate was set up to be the more deliberative body, and its own rules make passing legislation tough.
And the Senate has always been, depending on which side of the fence you sit on, the place where good bills go to die.
But Langer and Hart say Reid's unprecedented throttling of votes and amendments steals almost all the power away from the rest of the senators.
The fact is there are no red state Democrats. There are only Reid state Democrats. And he is, in effect, the third senator from every state because he truly does have the power to decide what amendments are offered.
And by blocking almost every senator on almost every issue, Hart says Reid takes away your right to representation.
This isn't just about the rights of senators or Republicans. This is about the rights and privileges of every single American citizen.
Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
Coming up, a matter of life and death. Johnny Erickson Tyler responds after a woman with a brain tumor vows to kill herself. A 29-year-old woman is choosing the day she dies. Brittany Maynard was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer shortly after she was married. After learning her prognosis, she and her family moved to Oregon, one of the 5 states where assisted suicide is legal. Maynard says she wants to die with dignity and will take a pill November 1st to end her life. Her story is getting national attention through social media. People on both sides of the issue are weighing either in support of her or they're begging her not to take her life and to pray for a miracle. Johnny Erickson Tyler wrote an open letter to Brittany encouraging her not to give up on life. Johnny shares her unique perspective as a quadriplegic person on her show, Johnny and Friends. She spoke with CBN News about Brittany's case and the right to die legislation.
I think the most challenging thing about this case is that it poses such a risk to people with disabilities. I'm thinking of people with multiple sclerosis or Lou Gehrig's disease or even muscular dystrophy. Who is to say when those disabilities should be classified as, quote, terminal? And also I think that some people with disabilities may be subtly steered toward assisted suicide by their insurance company or pressured by their family. Not every family who faces serious illnesses are as extraordinarily supportive as Brittany's are. My concern is about the abuse if we legalize physician-assisted suicide beyond the 5 states where it's already legal.
And we want to hear from you about this story. Please post your prayers for Brittany and her family on our CBN News Facebook page. You can also tweet us at CBN News using the hashtag #PrayForBrittany. Well, imagine a cure for paralysis. Well, one medical team made of doctors from the United Kingdom and Poland say a groundbreaking new treatment has them right on the brink.
Meet Derek Fidyka. In 2010, he was paralyzed from the chest down in a knife attack. Today, he's walking again, thanks to a new cell transplant therapy pioneered by British doctors and carried out by surgeons in Poland. The treatment involves taking cells from his nasal cavity and injecting them into the gap of his damaged spinal cord. These transplanted nerve fibers are constantly regenerating, and researchers hoped they would stimulate repair and regrowth. The result is astounding.
You are making history now. To me, this is more impressive than a man walking on the moon.
Fidyka is now walking with the help of a frame, but he says he's able to feel movement and sensation slowly returning to his lower body. He told reporters, quote, "When you can't feel almost half your body, you're helpless. But when it starts coming back, it's like you were born again." Details of the new treatment are published in the journal Cell Transplantation. Researchers say their goal is to develop this procedure to a point where it can be rolled out worldwide. Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
And next, the healthy eating plan ripped straight from the Old Testament. We're going to show you the Bible's 7 superfoods next. They're called the 7 superfoods of the Bible, and unlike much of what we eat in America, they are very healthy for you. CBN's Scott Ross traveled to Jerusalem to learn about them. He and his wife also learned how anyone can cook and enjoy these wonderful foods from the Bible.
This is the city of David. My wife Nedra and I met a famous Israeli known as the Queen of Kosher, and the kosher Rachel Ray. She is Jamie Geller, mother of 5 and founder of the Kosher Media Network.
How large an area does this encompass?
It's an 11-acre area. This is biblical Jerusalem, the city of David, and you'll notice it's outside of the old city walls, right? So the city of David, Jerusalem, Israel, it brings people together. It does. Much like food. So now I'm going to show you one of my favorite recipes, the 7 superfoods of the Bible and a special salad. How about that?
Great.
I brought Nedra along because she's the real cook in the family.
She feeds me. She's a very good cook, but we know nothing about kosher food and kosher cooking.
Kosher refers to biblical and traditional Jewish dietary laws. They prohibit some foods like pork and shellfish and don't allow mixing meat and dairy products in the same meal. But we learned it's tasty all the same.
The way that I cook is quick and kosher, okay?
Right.
So that means it's easy, anyone can do it, and all I need are people that like to eat.
We love to eat.
Can you do that?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. And what's special here, forget about kosher, we're doing a recipe inspired by the 7 species, the 7 foods that are superfoods of the Bible and of the land of Israel.
Superfoods?
Yeah.
Will this make me a super person,
It'll
man?
make you strong like Popeye, it'll make you healthy, your doctor will be happy, your wife will be happy, you'll eat good.
The 7 species come from the book of Deuteronomy, which says the Lord your God is bringing you into a good land, a land of wheat and barley, of vines and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of olive oil and honey.
Shivat Haminim, which translates to mean the 7 species. So this is the Shivat Haminim salad. Okay, fine. So we're going to start by our wheat that we're going to use is bulgur. So would you mind to help me, Nedra?
Sure, what would you like me to do? Just
put that right in here. And yes, into a hot pot, we're going to put a little bit of oil, just a touch. You make bulgur like you would rice. So you toast it up just a little bit in a hot pot. Now, this is the magic of television, right? We got a finished thing right there.
We did it.
Before we get to toss it all together, we're gonna make our dressing. So you wanna help a little bit, Scott and Nedra? Here, we have olive oil.
Okay, do you want the whole?
Please, put it all in. Okay, this is a little Dijon mustard. That's just for a little flavor, right?
Loves mustard.
Right, okay, fine. Okay. So Dijon's good. Now, what we have here is one of the special foods of the lands of Israel, date honey. Dates are one of the sweetest fruits in the world. Tons of fiber, that's what we're talking about, these superfoods. And date honey has been used for thousands of years to sweeten things naturally. A little red wine vinegar, right? Because grapes and wine, you can do it. We got a little bit of, salt and pepper. Okay, now we whisk. Who wants to whisk for me?
We can whisk.
Okay, whisk it up.
Well,
Mr. Ross.
Okay,
gorgeous.
How long do you whisk?
That's it.
Yeah, it's good. Emulsified, nice, so everything's emulsified. You don't want to see any chunks of Dijon anymore. So that just pulls that together. So now, before we assemble our salad, I just want to show you, this is dried dates.
Okay.
And then you just slice your dates like this.
Okay.
Okay, so that's how we deal with our dates. You can use fresh or dried figs, but I just wanted to show you guys a little bit of that.
Good.
Would you please, Scott, bring over that
beautiful
serving plate. Then we can set our bulgur, is going to be the base of our salad. So we're going to put on our dates. They're a little sticky. So you'll excuse me, you want to help me? I put in the grapes, the superfood of the grapes, right? They've got lots of antioxidants. When pomegranates are in season, we would use the seeds of a pomegranate. Here we've got our figs, another one, right out of the Bible, onto our beautiful
They look
salad.
like anchovies.
Right, you said that. That's not one of the superfoods, but if you like, we can put it on, you know? So we pour on our dressing on top, right?
Okay.
And it's beautiful, right? It's a nice salad.
It's really nice.
But now look at it. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
They think you're
The
in
power of
the
a
kitchen
little
forever.
green. Yeah, totally. It looks like we worked hard on this.
Yeah.
How long did that take us, guys?
5 minutes.
Okay, would you like to taste?
Of course.
Okay, so let's share this together, right?
Okay.
Shall we? A little for you.
Okay.
A little more, Hardy. They got a spoon over there.
Okay.
A little for you, Miss Nedra.
Thank you, dear.
I want you to get all of the
this is looking
superfoods.
good.
It smells nice,
yeah.
it's fresh. So shall we?
Yes, we shall.
Okay. God bless this and help me.
Amen.
Mmm.
Do you like?
Mmm.
It's different, right? Enjoy. I'm so happy that you like. And right now you're eating a superfood salad with foods from the Bible that's delicious and good for you. So that's like the best combination.
Oh boy.
Well, I wanted to give you guys a present. Can I do that?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay.
I have a new book
Wonderful.
called Joy of Kosher, Fast, Fresh Family Recipes.
I may end up going
So
kosher. You never know.
Well, you know what? You don't have to be kosher
Yeah,
to love
right.
kosher.
I understand
So
that.
in
Right,
theory,
yeah.
this was a kosher salad, but come on, it was
Right.
delicious,
Right.
you know?
It looks beautiful.
And there are lots of wonderful Israeli recipes in here, hummus, falafel, there's a lamb kebab spiced with cinnamon, cumin.
wonderful.
Right.
And so don't be scared it's kosher, don't be scared it's Israel, don't be
Right.
scared. You know, I try Italian recipes, I try Indian recipes,
Right.
let's do it. Let's
Yeah.
get together around food.
Scott Ross, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Archaeologists in Jerusalem have discovered a rare Latin inscription from the Roman period just 100 years after Jesus. It's the time when the Romans were trying to erase any trace of the Jews from the city. John Waggy has the story.
The 2,000-year-old one-ton stone was dedicated to the Roman Emperor Hadrian.
We have preserved enough letters and words that we can figure out the name and the titles of the emperor and by whom the inscription was dedicated, and probably the entire monument was constructed.
The 10th Legion dedicated this arch to Hadrian upon his 14th Tribunicia Potestas. That will be 130 of the Common Era.
The Israel Antiquities Authority discovered the stone during a salvage excavation between a mosque and a church near a busy Jerusalem street. Found in a Byzantine-era site, the ancient stone had been recycled to build a water cistern.
I think it's very significant because it's hard evidence of an official construction project that was carried by the Roman army for the coming of the emperor to the city.
Excavation director Dr. Rina Avner says there's more that the stone does not reveal.
We don't have the new name of Jerusalem that was given by Hadrian, and we don't have the indication of the change of the city's status as a Roman colony.
Hadrian ruled the Roman Empire from 117 to 138 AD. He renamed Jerusalem Aelia Capitolina after his family name and built a temple to Jupiter on the ruins of the Second Jewish Temple.
It was a policy to Hellenize the land and erase the Jewish past.
The unanswered question is whether Hadrian provoked the Jewish Bar Kokhba revolt from 132 to 136 AD by building pagan temples, or if he built the temples to punish the Jews. The other half of the stone was found nearby more than 100 years ago and is on display in a museum in the Old City. Avner says it's always exciting to find a direct physical connection to the past. John Wagi, CBN News.
And that is going to do it now for CBN News Today. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. Take the time to tell us what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do it on Facebook or at CBN News on Twitter. Certainly hope you'll join us again right here next time. Make it a wonderful Wednesday, everybody.